Crazy coincidences that you will not believe are true. In 2010, a 13-year-old British teenager was struck by lightning at 13:13 on Friday the 13th. He was in a crowd at an air show with over 150,000 people. This pair of twins were separated at birth, but at their adoptions were both named James. Both of them married women named Linda. Each of them had one son, one of them named James Allen and the other named James Allen. They both had a dog named Toy. Finally, both brothers got divorced, and then both married a woman named Betty? A 10-year-old girl named Laura Buxton sent a balloon off into the sky with her full name and address. The balloon floated 140 miles until it landed in the backyard of another Laura Buxton, who was a 10-year-old girl. The girls were the same height, they had the same brown hair, and they both had 3-year-old golden retrievers at home. This is them, and they're actually friends today. A man was in Hiroshima when the first atomic bomb dropped. He was severely burned, but he still reported to work 3 days later in Nagasaki. Just as he was describing the bomb to his boss, the second bomb dropped. This time he did not get injured. Violet Jessup was a ship nurse on the three sister ships, the Titanic, Britannic, and Olympic. She was on board when the Olympic collided with a warship and almost sank, when the Titanic hit an iceberg and sank, and when the Britannic hit an underwater mine and also sank. She survived all three. In 2016, a woman bought a $10 scratcher ticket in order to show her husband how much of a waste of money lottery tickets are. Her ticket ended up being worth $1 million. World War I began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. The license plate of the car he was in said A111118. World War I ended on 11/11/18. The last person who died constructing the Hoover Dam was the son of the first person who died constructing the Hoover Dam. The creepy part is they both died on December 20th in different years. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a book about 4 sailors who survived their ship sinking and had to eat their cabin boy who happened to be named Richard Parker. Poe claimed the story was based on real-life events, but that was not true. 46 years later, this exact thing happened, and the boy that they ate had the name Richard Parker. Mark Twain was born in 1835 when Halley's Comet was passing the Earth, and he predicted that he would die when Halley's Comet came back. Halley's Comet only shows up every 76 years, and in 1910, on the first day that Halley's Comet was passing Earth again, Mark Twain died. This Dutch cyclist escaped 2 plane crashes in his life. Not only was he supposed to be on the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 before deciding to take an earlier flight, he was also supposed to be on Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, the one that got shot down over Ukraine in 2014. He changed his flight so that he could save money. The first British soldier and the last British soldier to die in World War I are buried 6 meters apart from each other, facing each other, in a Belgium cemetery. This was not a planned arrangement. You may know that John Wilkes Booth assassinated Abraham Lincoln, but did you know that just a few months before this, Booth's brother saved Abraham Lincoln's son from death? Robert Lincoln nearly fell backwards onto the tracks in a train station before Edwin Booth grabbed him by the collar and pulled him back up. Edwin Booth was a famous actor at the time, and Robert Lincoln recognized him and was a fan, so later wrote about the incident. Edwin Booth did not realize who he had saved until years after his brother's infamous act. In 1895, there were only 2 cars in the entire state of Ohio, and they somehow ran into each other. A meteor once hit the home of a family that had the last name Comet. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and the Comets are now a proud owner of this extremely rare alien rock that probably flew through space for billions of years. Esther and Paul had just started seeing each other for a short time before one day Paul noticed something strange. While paying for a sandwich, he realized that a dollar bill he was about to hand the cashier had the name Esther written in pencil on it. Paul decided to keep this Esther dollar bill and frame it to give it to her as a gift. She was very shocked when she got the dollar bill, which confused Paul, but she told him to ask her about it later. Years later, after they had gotten married, the framed dollar resurfaced in their home. Esther had apparently written her name on about 10 different dollar bills after a breakup she was going through. She said to herself that she would marry the man that brought back one of her dollar bills. She did not tell him this in the moment because she did not want to scare him away so early in the relationship, but she knew right then that he was the one. And now they've been married for over 20 years. Finnair Flight 666 departed from Copenhagen and landed in Helsinki, otherwise known as Hell, on Friday the 13th. Yes, Flight 666 flew straight into hell on the worst possible day. Thankfully, the coincidence ends there. They landed safely. A couple was sifting through old family photos in anticipation of their upcoming wedding. They discovered that they unknowingly took their first picture together as children 11 years before they ever met. They had grown up 300 miles apart, but the future groom's family was on a beach vacation in the future bride's hometown. The only reason that we get solar eclipses is because the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, but 400 times closer. Throughout time, the moon has always moved further away, so this is the only time in history where the moon is pretty much exactly the same size as the sun. An engaged couple were looking through old photos to put together a slideshow for their wedding. The woman pulled out an old photo of her from Disney World 20 years prior. When her fiancé looked at it, he was shocked. He instantly recognized his dad in the background of the photo, pushing him as a baby in the stroller. Not only did they discover that they had been at the same place at the same time as children, but someone actually snapped a photo of the moment. They recreated the photo here, and she was quoted saying, "I was happy that he proposed before so that I knew that he loved me and he didn't do it just because he saw the picture and thought it was fate." An author predicted the sinking of the Titanic 14 years before it happened. Robert Morgan wrote The Wreck of the Titan in 1898. And there were definitely some uncanny similarities between the fictional book and the real-life events that happened. Not only did he name the ship Titan, but both Titan and Titanic mean unsinkable. Both ships ran into trouble after hitting an iceberg on the starboard side of the ship. They were both 400 miles off the coast of the North Atlantic when they sank, both on April nights. Both ships were about 800 feet long, traveling at about 25 knots, and had a capacity of 3,000 passengers, exactly. And in both cases, passengers suffered tragically for a lack of lifeboats. Follow for more.